A gun. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the coffee Q&A. I mean, this is a coffee Q&A, but that coffee and cigars live stream. I actually made a mistake and hit the wrong button while trying to set things up. So we're in the middle of setting things up. So give me a moment here to catch up. So what's going on, everybody? Welcome back. We are here doing our live stream again after a couple weeks hiatus. I've been in New England for the past couple weeks where I have been attending to my aunt who wanted to go back to Massachusetts where she lives and live her life as she wants. So I could no longer, I could not, I mean, she's of sound mind and body. Well, sound mind at least, and so I could not deny her desire to go to back home. So that's what I did, and that's where we are. Let me just see. I'm still not even prepared with everything. Turn this on. This should automatically connect. So how's everyone doing? Everything going well? Okay, this should plug in. And now we should have audio that is 5x5. Let me know if this sounds right. And yeah, so how's it going? Hope everyone's doing well. I'm just all like prepared for whatever I was prepared for. Yeah, I was actually just setting up the camera on the phone, and I guess my hand hit the start live button. So we're starting, and how's it going? How's it going? We are making coffee tonight. We're making coffee. So our cigar tonight is actually was not given to me, but was suggested to me by Mr. Jonathan from the Cigar Authority. He actually is the manager of Two Guys Cigars up in Salem, New Hampshire. And I was up there last Thursday, a week ago, and I stopped in because I wanted to check out what they had. And he was like, "Yeah, try this cigar, the Aladino," because one of the things I wanted to get, Two Guys Cigars, Two Guys Cigars, and I wanted to go and see what they had. The last time I was there was 2019, and they had a big case behind their counter where it's just generic cigars, leftover secondary cigars from other manufacturers. And the day that I happened to stop in, for $5 a piece were Avo Ele 05 seconds or overruns. And I was like, what? That's craziness. So I got that. Mom, how are you, man? Good to see you. Good to see you. And so I was hoping they'd have something along that line, and they did not. I mean, they had other stuff, but it wasn't as good like that Avo Ele. If you ever had the Avo Ele 05, which was originally released in 05, and then like in 2019, they did a re-release of it. Man, that re-release was just so beautiful, so beautiful. All right, so let's see. What we're going to do today is we're going to make some coffee. And today's coffee, we're going to use this coffee. I don't know if we used this the last time, but this is the Bounty Oasis from Roasting House in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. These are some of my friends there, and I ran into them back in April. This coffee's from April, and they were like, "Hey, want some coffee?" I was like, "Hey, I'd love to have some coffee." So that's what I got. And now we're going to put it together. I brought my coffee kit with me on my trip, and I made coffee at my aunt's place for her. But I was planning on making a video or something, but I never got around to making videos. I did a couple of the clutch or sus videos that are using, using canned coffees, but I didn't really didn't get to shoot them. I didn't get to do, I didn't get to do much, we didn't do much live streaming at all, we didn't do this show at all, and then we didn't really do too many of the morning coffee Q&A live streams. Tony, how's it going, man? Good to see you. And now I can't get this bag open. Let's get this out. Man, for a coffee that's now 5 months old, it smells great. Like I'm 6 months old. April, 6 months old. Yes, April, 6 month old. Man, it is so nice. This is why I really don't believe in how everybody talks about, oh, you only have a couple weeks or a month. I think coffee that's nice quality that is well sourced, that is well roasted, will give you a lot of time before it's no good. All right, let's tilt this down just a little bit more. All right. This is the Kogu Japanese ceramic conical burr hand grinder. You know, I'm enjoying. Am I enjoying? I'm not, I was going to say I'm enjoying it more, but I'm not really enjoying hand grinding at all. Still, it's just something that needs to be done because I didn't bring an electric grinder. Would I choose this on a daily basis? No, 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 no. I'm not crazy like that. Okay, so let's get our heat source. I cut myself yesterday. I have a double-edged razor, safety razor, that I keep in a drawer. And I hadn't used it in weeks, and it was sitting in there, and basically it was sitting, normally I put it vertical so that the ends are up. I guess this time it was laying on its side next to the brush that I use. And I just went in and I felt it, and I was like, gosh, sliced like a little bit of skin right off the thumb. That really kind of blew. George, how are you, man? Good to see you, George Juan. Good to see you. Tony says, that's not a festool attachment to hook that to a drill. Oh, there's not a festool. Oh, I'm sure there is. I'm sure I could take, I'm sure that I could, actually, let's see if that can work. I'm sure I could probably take this little bit there. And if I take this 3/8 chuck and put it on this, or actually I'll put it on here first. Let's close that up. This doesn't feel tight. So yeah, that would work. That could work. That could work. That could work. How do we get this off now? Tony's having a La Aurora 115th anniversary Toro and a zero sugar Fago. Fago? I've never even heard of Fago. What is Fago grape? Okay, that's better. All right. Fago. I'm not familiar with that. All right, let's open up here. We got the MSR camp stove, and I'm using jet boil butane. Sometimes I've thought about using this to light cigars, but this is just so like crazy. Okay, that's good. Got an MSR tea kettle here with the lighters inside. Got our water. Oh, Fago is a generic. Oh, gotcha, gotcha. All right. I hear you. Okay, let's put this on here. Ah. So put that on top. We got our coffee ready. Now we're going to get our brewer. This is the Kogu brewer from Japan. I've been using this a lot. I really like it. You know, I've been wanting to get it, so I've been using it a lot. with their homemade filters. George says, having a disappointing Avo Nicaraguan with a vodka martini. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, man. I actually think that one of the other cigars that I bought was from their, like, you know, their overrun selection was one of those. I think he said it was an Avo. It was a really light cigar. I got it. It was like $5. Great deal, but you know what? I smoked one on my trip, and it was just wasn't much of anything. It was really kind of disappointing. All right, so we've got this. We'll put the, man, really beautiful, like fruity kind of aromas from this coffee. Really fruity, beautiful, delicate kind of notes. I really, really am. I'm liking this a lot more as a coffee than it was before. Oh, Fanta, not Fanta. I was wondering, man, it says Fago. I was like, Fago? I never even heard of Fago. All right, so let's just shake that out to lower it, to smoothen it out, just flatten it out. And now we're brewing our water, or heating our water. Let's go full bore on this thing. So what's been going on with everyone? Anything happen interesting? For you educators, oh, there we go, it's boiling already. See, that's the nice thing about the power of MSR, is that it boils fairly quickly. And now we're gonna start to brew. For you educators, I was actually, I went up to Portland, Maine for a day to go visit some places. Well, Portland was one of them, and then a couple other joints. I went up to Warrenton, and but while I was in Portland, one of my old friends, Jenny, she's a librarian at an elementary school there, and she was like, she posted on her Facebook a while back. She was like, my rocker broke. So evidently there's this rocker, this old rocking chair that they have at the elementary school at the library, and it broke. And I was like, oh man, there's got to be someone that can fix it. She was like, you know, and she was like, I wish there was. And I was like, you're in Maine. There's like so many woodworkers up in Maine. I'm sure someone would be more than happy to fix it for you and help the kids out. But evidently, you know, she hadn't done anything, so I stopped by the school to see how it was going, and I got to see the chair. You know, it really just needs like a screw, because basically where the leg comes down and meets the rocking part, one of the rockers, separated. So it should be. I told her, you know, just put a screw in it. That'll be perfectly fine. I may have to go back to Boston sometime before Christmas. So if I do, then I might go. And she hasn't fixed it. I'll probably bring just a couple tools along to go and repair it for her. Tony says that Fago is an off-brand soda. So you're drinking Fanta or Fago? Now I'm confused. Ouch. I feel like they didn't make enough water. But I measured enough water into this cup, so it should, oh, I guess I should have put more because there's some offset. Let's just boil a little bit more. It'll be fine, it'll be fine. Taking a little bit of time now this week to brew coffee. Lately I've been kind of like shortcutting it, but our cigar tonight is a Corona size, so we can take some time. All right, this is 2:52. Today is the 30th of October, and this is the Aladino Corona number 4. All right, there we go. We got that. We got a lot of boiling going on here. Fago, Shasta, RC were the off-brands back in the day. Oh, okay, gotcha, gotcha. I don't think RC was an off-brand. RC Cola was its own brand. All right, this should be good. This should be good. By off-brands, I mean it wasn't. Gotcha, gotcha. It wasn't Coke or Pepsi. You know, for me, when I do road trips, right? Like if you were to drive from Boston to Baltimore nonstop, you know, it'd probably take you more or less 8 hours, right? It takes me like 14 hours. Like the trip up took 12, the trip back took 14. I was like, man, it really does take me a long time to get to places. But a lot of that time is, you know, I mean, for me, it's always like I just want to. I want to stop places and check things out, and then, you know, like originally on my plan originally to return was to stop by a couple joints. One place down in Swansea, Massachusetts, which is kind of the southeastern corner, close to Rhode Island, and then hit into Providence to stop at a couple joints there, and then make my way down to Middletown, Connecticut, stop there, and then go to Manchester, Connecticut, stop there, and then make the drive home. But man, you know, I just realized that, you know, that would just, I would never make it. No matter what time I left in the morning, I just never would make it. So I ended up going to Swansea and I also went to this other place in Massachusetts where I was planning to go on the way home. I went there like 2 days before. I was like, all right, I'm gonna check those places out. And then I eliminated the Providence stop, and I was just going to go to the University of Connecticut, right? The University of Connecticut it has an agricultural program, and their ag program, they do dairy and ice cream. So they make their own ice cream at the school, at the University of Connecticut Dairy Bar. And I went there a couple years back, or last year, and it was great. Like it was some of the best ice cream I've had. So I was like, man, I need to go back. And so I planned on going back, and I was like, okay. So I canceled other trips, other parts of the trip to go to the Yukon Dairy Bar. And on the way out there, I was looking online, I was looking on the maps, and I was like, oh, there's a place that I wanted to go visit. I'm kind of going on the way in Worcester, right? Is it Worcester or Worcester? Worcester, in Worcester, Massachusetts, a place called U.S. Tool and Fastener. And I was like, all right, let me go stop in there. So I stopped in. And U.S. Tool and Fastener is a big, of course, Festool dealer. They're also a huge Milwaukee dealer. So all kinds of Milwaukee. Like if you're into Milwaukee, these guys have got it all. But I was there, and I only planned to stop in and this is how it is. I always plan to just stop in for a couple minutes, grab a couple items, and then hit the road, right? Because I'm on a schedule. I got to go get ice cream, so I need to go. Well, I get there, and like the main guy there is like someone I haven't met yet. I'm just meeting them. This guy Ryan, who runs the place, I think he runs the place, and he's him and I are talking. He comes out and says, "Hey, what are you looking for?" I said, "Well, you know, just see what you got. I heard you had some discounted stuff." So we look, and then I'm there with him, hanging out with him, talking all kinds of stuff for at least an hour. I look at my watch later, I'm like, "Oh man, it's already 1:30. I got here at like 11:30 or something like that, 12 o'clock." So I was like, "Oh, okay, I got to hit the road." And then, you know, I finally made it to University of Connecticut. Then went to a place in Manchester, and then hustled down to New Jersey, where I had 3 stops in New Jersey. And so I left Boston. What time? I left Boston like, my goal was to leave at 9. I really got out of there closer to 10. I rolled into my house at midnight. Is that right? Yeah. So 14 hours of travel for what would take a normal person probably 8 to 10 hours. That's how I end up doing trips. All right, so let's have a taste of this. This is the Bounty Blend from Roasting House in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. It's a coffee we've had before, but one that I've really come to enjoy. Oh, light, delicate, fruity. Really, that's really nice. All right, that's good. That's good. That's going to be a nice accompaniment for tonight's journey. All right, so like I said, I was last week Thursday. I was in. I ended up. I took a day off to go to Maine. So on Wednesday, I went up to Maine, to Portland, and I went to Warrenton, and I went to go visit another place called Thomas Mosier, which is a furniture manufacturer. I wanted to go. I was able to get a tour. Thanks, Renee. I appreciate that, and got to go around and see things. And then I went to I stayed overnight in Portland. The next day I went to Wolfboro to go visit a friend of mine who's in the coffee business. He's got a coffee shop there called Lucas Coffee Roasting. So I went to Lucas, hung out for a bit, and then I wanted to go down to Manchester, Connecticut, where I wanted to see this furniture show at the Curio Museum. So I went there. But after that, if you're driving along 93, Interstate 93 in Manchester, right across the border from Massachusetts is a place called Two Guys Cigar Shop. And the owner of Two Guys Cigars, Dave Garofalo, is originally from Boston. And when Massachusetts started getting really hard with their tobacco regulations, Dave got pissed off and took his business across the border to New Hampshire, where he has two shops. And I think he sells a ton of cigars. He runs a show called the Cigar Authority that I listen to. I used to listen to it really, really frequently, but lately I haven't listened to it too much. But there's a guy named Mr. Jonathan, and Mr. Jonathan's kind of like, for lack of a better term, he's the kind of snide guy on the show. But every time that I've met him at the stores, he's always been really, really personable and really, really, customer oriented. And so the first time that I went there in 2019, super welcoming. And then this time he happened to be there and we chatted for a bit. And I wanted to find a cigar that would be enjoyable. And actually tonight's cigar was a cigar that I chose really to smoke for myself. I was going to smoke it while I was on my trip, and I was like, yeah, I'll have this cigar at some point. And then I really didn't smoke any cigars for the last, I had one, and I didn't really like it. And I didn't really smoke at all for the whole time. But then I thought, after a while not smoking, I thought, well, maybe I'll just use it on the live stream. So that's why we have it today. And so one of the things that Mr. Jonathan was telling me is that this cigar from Aladino that Iroa makes is released once a year. It's the number 4 Corona in the Corojo Reserva. And it's a once a year release. It started being released, in 2022, I think it was. There's an article that I linked in the description down below that is from Half Wheel, and they really give a good rundown on this cigar, how it started. Maybe it started in 2019, and that particular review was from 2022 version. I think it's going to be very similar. I think it's made in the JRE, the Julio R. Iroa. Is that right? Julio, is it Julio? Tony, well, you'll know this. Julian, I don't know what it is, but it's Iroa Cigars in Honduras. And I think I saw they were in Honduras. Maybe they're in Dunlea, which is typically where most cigars are made in Honduras, right? Is that right? Let me look it up here. Aladino Corojo Reserva Corona number 4 Limitado. I'm looking at the Half Wheel article that was from 2022, I think it was. So I don't expect the cigar to necessarily be exactly the same as today. Okay, here it is. The factory is Fábrica de Puros Aladino a las Lomas Jamastran in Honduras. It doesn't say what part of Honduras it is. 5x44 Corona, and the MSRP, it says in 2019, whenever this was released, or maybe it's 2019 when this article was written. It was $10. So $10 in 2019, and I paid in 2025 Aladino Corojo Reserva Corona number 4, $11.29. All right, so in 5-6 years, only $1.29 increase in the price. Not a bad thing. Not a bad thing. These are the other cigars that I got. You can see them here. They're torpedo shaped. And does it say what they are? I don't think it says what they are. Yeah, it just says the 90 cigar. Tony, I don't know if that means anything. 90 cigar. 4 at $5. Yeah, $5. $5 a stick. So, it was one of those things, it's $5. Might as well try. But to me, it's very light in body. Not really that pleasurable for me personally. So what can you do? What can you do, right? Mom says, Tony, I bought an RC Cola 2-liter the other day. I see in the supermarket. I bought a 12 pack. Actually, it's been a couple years since I bought it. But when we were at the other roastery, I bought a 12 pack. I was like, I haven't had RC Cola in such a long time. Let me get a taste of it. And I think it's enjoyable. I don't think it's going to replace my Diet Coke, but yeah. So what's everybody smoking tonight? Let me know what you're smoking. I'm interested to know what you're smoking. Now, George Brightman did message me the other day, and he was like, hey, what do you think about doing November 15th, and that's a weekend, in Shippensburg? And I was like, let me run that by everyone. And I was thinking about it yesterday on the way back, or where was I yesterday? I was here yesterday. Oh yeah, I was driving. I was in Pennsylvania again yesterday. So I was on the way back from Pennsylvania. I was thinking about. I'm not sure if that works for me personally, but if everybody's interested, that might be something to do. I just haven't had the chance to really sit down and like talk to George about what's on his mind about that kind of outing and what that entails. Just because I've been so busy with other things that have been on the mind lately. So well, I'll try to get to that very soon. Maybe hopefully before my next week's episode. I've got a lot of busy days for the next like 3-4 days, so it's like crazy. All right, let's get into the cigar. So 44 by 5, so really kind of thin and small. Actually, when I was thinking about it, I probably should have got like a Churchill or something, but this is the limited one. It only comes out once a year, so we have to give it a try. So as you can see, it comes with a little bit of a wrapper body there, whatever you call it. Take that out. Oh yeah, tissue paper. Oh, that was pretty good. There it is, Aladino number 4. Very nice looking wrapper. Double band. Just a regular cap. A little bit veiny. It looks a little bit veiny, but has a nice manure. Kind of tainted, maybe sharp manure kind of flavor or fragrance. Sometimes you get manure and it's kind of enticing. Like I said, this is a sharp manure, and actually this sharp manure, not off-putting, but not entirely enticing. Like it's a little bit like, oh, that's a little bit different. That's a little bit odd. That's a little bit cautionary, right? I could do 11:15, but then I'm gone until December. Oh, right, because you're going to be away. Well, I mean, that's the thing. It's like past that, it's just too close to Thanksgiving, and that becomes much more of a difficult proposition for I think everyone at that point. All right, let's get our cutter and lighter. Where is that cutter and lighter? Okay, I've got our cheapo guillotine double cutter from Faders, old Faders cutter here. Now, I was up in New Jersey on, not yesterday, but on Wednesday driving back, and I was like, no, Tuesday. I came back Tuesday. Yesterday was Wednesday. And I was like, I wonder if I'm close to Rusty. So I gave Rusty a call. I said, hey, man, where are you again, man? He said, where are you? I said, I'm in where was I? I was in a place called Hawthorne, which is actually a town kind of next to Ridgewood where we had our live streams from the tobacco shop of Ridgewood. And I was like, and he's like, oh yeah, man, you're still like an hour away. I was like, oh man. I mean, I didn't have the time, Rob. I might have actually still gone and had a cigar with him. I mean, like, I'll just get home at 2 o'clock and be fine. But actually, I had to go because I told my niece was asking me to get her something, get her some food from a place called Jollibee, which is that fast food joint. She likes the spaghetti, so I looked it up and I was like, the Edison store closes at 9. I have to get there I got there at 8:45. Was able to get her some spaghetti, so I couldn't have actually gone and had a cigar. All right, let's light this up. It's got. Oh no, we need to like do some cold draw. Yeah, the manure is a little bit sharp. Cold draw, the draw is very easy. It's a little bit of like bits and pieces of tobacco. The cold draw gives me flavors of like Tetra fish food. Let's see our color here. Color is probably about there. Fragrance is okay. Cold draw, okay. I'm going to say 7.5. All right, now let's light it up. There's plenty of gas. There's a dominant burnt tobacco flavor that's on the light, but it's not off-putting. Oh, that's what I need. I need my cup. I don't have my cup. This is what happens when you've been away from the stream for a couple weeks. You forget everything you really need. There's a kind of, it's a burnt tobacco kind of character. It's pretty weighty as far as the body. Good draw, good smoke production. It's an acrid flavor. There's an acrid character to this cigar. And while I tend to really like Aladino cigars overall in my past, this one strikes me as a little bit odd. That acridity is, maybe that's just part of the lighting of it, and maybe that'll go away, but that's what I'm getting initially. An acrid kind of character to the flavor of the cigar. But I gotta say the draw is just lovely. Like it's drawing brilliantly. Like I'm like, ooh. Like it's drawing in a way that you just kind of, it's smooth, resistive, but easy. So you just want to puff more. Like I feel like I want to puff more. And there's definitely it's definitely a weighty cigar because there's on my palate right now. There's a weightiness, a heaviness on the palate itself from the flavor of the cigar. You know, it's weird. It's acrid, and I'm kind of on the verge of actually maybe not liking the flavor, but I'm loving the draw so much. Like maybe it's, and there's a spiciness to it. That spiciness is starting to come out now. It's weird. It's strange and different. Yeah, like after drinking the coffee, perhaps this lighter, brighter, fruitier coffee is not the right accompaniment for this. It's kind of like this acrid with some spice and body. It's a strange cigar. It's a strange experience because the acridity, the heaviness, the spiciness. Um, I don't know if I would say that I like it, but the draw, the character of the draw, I really dig. Yeah, definitely there's a spice, a heaviness. I mean, it's a small cigar, 44 by 5, but man, it's not one of right now, it's not a cigar that's like, punching you in the face, but it's definitely got some guts and gusto to it, which is surprising because it is a small cigar. You just don't expect that to be that. You would expect something more of that character. Let's say if it was a cigar this size, this big old torpedo, but this small Corona, like this is quite interesting. It's different. It's very different. This is my Stihl cup. I was at the Stihl dealer yesterday. And I was asking because right now Stihl has all of these deals on their gear, right, on their tools. And I was like, oh, if you wanted to get like a battery powered chainsaw, now's the time, right? Or a battery powered blower, or I don't even know. I think they even had some deals on the gas, like the 271, which would be. Well, I have no need for that, but I've got a Craftsman like 18cc, like 18 or 18-inch chainsaw that's perfectly more than I actually need. But you think about the Stihl, but I was talking to the guy. I was like, so but what I could use is a log PV, right? One of those cant hook type things that you pull on it. You put the stand attachment to it so that you can, roll the log, lift it, and then you can cut it so that it's not touching the ground. I could use one of those, but I never see them go on sale. So I was asking the dealer. I said, hey man, do you guys ever, like, I see you got this deal going on with the power tools, but how about a deal on the PV? When do you get a deal on that? And he's like, typically we got a customer appreciation week at the end of the year. And usually that goes on sale then. So that'd be the time to get. And I was like, okay, I don't need it right away. I can use it by Christmas time would be fine. I was like, all right. Rusty's with us. What's going on, Rusty? Going home. All right, going home. We're here. We're here to keep you company on the way. I was just telling him how I was in your part of the country on Tuesday, and I gave you a call. I was like, hey, man, I'm here in Hawthorne. You're still an hour away. I was like, I had to get to Jollibee in Edison before they close at 9 o'clock. So I did make it. I did make it. I went into another guy's place to pick up some items. Gosh, he was out in the middle of nowhere. Like I was like, man, where are we? Like there's no city lights. It was like totally rural. I was like, what is this place? But he was actually an educator also that taught at a school, taught woodworking at one of the high schools there, whatever he was. I don't even remember now. But I was like, oh, I wonder if you might know where Rusty works. But I have no idea where you. I don't know the name of the school you're at either, so I didn't bring that up. But tonight we're smoking the Aladino Corojo Reserva, which is the number 4 Corona. Their once a year limited release, and I got this at Two Guys Cigar Shop up in Salem, New Hampshire, a week ago today. When I was young, I was always the bad child, right? Like I would get in trouble at school, they'd call my parents and all that kind of thing. And now that I'm older, and my aunt is the elderly one, she's the one that gets in trouble, and they call me. Like I'm in New Hampshire last Thursday. I'm in New Hampshire. I'm like, I'm having a good time. I'm gonna be heading back to Boston in a couple hours. And I was like, all right, everything's good, everything's good. And I get a call. I get a call from the head nurse for her PCP, her doctor. And I was like, oh hey, what's going on? And she's like, well, you were just calling about your aunt. I was like, uh-oh, what happened now? Your aunt's in the hospital. I was like, you're in the I've only been away for 24 hours. And so, she did something, ended up in the hospital, and she was there for a couple more days. And I was like when she was at the rehab center, the rehab, people would call me. They're like, oh, your aunt. Oh God, here we go again. Can't you please just behave for just a couple days? But she's settled now, so that's good. Like she ended up in the hospital because my nurse, the woman, the head nurse, called her to talk to her about things, and she kind of sensed that she was a little bit like off. She sounded off, and she asked her, have you been taking your meds? And she's like, well, I haven't taken this one med. And I was like, are you feeling well? She's like, well, yeah. She sounded like she was off, and I was like, and so she said to her, I said, well, would you like me to call the ambulance and go to the hospital and let them take care of you? And she was like, okay. And so that's how she ended up there. And I was like, she's like, sure, your aunt's fine, but she is there. I was like, oh God. Oh, God. Like, craziness. So I was, since I was there for like over 2 weeks, I ended up going to a bunch of events while I was up there. I found some events to attend, and I was talking to this one guy, and I was telling him, yeah, man, I got to go up to Maine, go check out these places. And he was like, oh man, you going to Maine? You need to go to this place called Martin's outside of Portland. I was like, what is this place? He's like, you need to go there because you need to go and check out what they got. And because he was like, this, and so I went up there, right? I was like, I'm going to go check it out. Because he was like, yeah, they got all this Festool for cheap. I was like, how cheap could it possibly be? And I go there. And turns out Martin's is kind of like what we have here in Baltimore called Ollie's. Although I think it's a little bit more hardcore than Ollie's. Although maybe it's similar. But Martin's is a company that has retail locations where they have surplus and liquidation sales stuff. And evidently there was a big dealer up in Massachusetts, a Festool dealer, a big paint company that had a warehouse fire. Now it didn't burn everything, but it burned enough of it, and so the insurance it all, and they got rid of all the inventory. And this, I guess, Martin's bought it, and they were having like crazy sale. Like it was just like I walked in there and I was like, oh my God, like this is just, I don't have enough money. Like I walked in, I was like, oh my Lord. I really needed some sandpaper. So that's what I bought. I bought a couple boxes of sandpaper. I was like, this is what I need. I don't need anything else. And then I was like, all right, good. But then I was like, you know what? Before I left Portland the next day to go to New Hampshire, I was like, let me stop in just to see. Because they restocked. They restocked their stuff. And I was like, oh my God, man. Like there's this like circular saw that Festool makes. It's battery powered, and it's like maybe $700 or whatever. I can't remember what the price is. It's more expensive than I ever want to buy for a circular saw. Like I don't have a need for a circular saw. They had this circular saw, no batteries, but the circular saw. When you added the discounted to the price, it was $265. I was like, oh my God, man. Never have I seen prices such as these. I mean, it was just like wildly insane. But I got what I needed. I didn't go crazy. Went on my way and did my thing. But if I had a lot of cash, man, I would have just burned through it. I was like, oh, they had all kinds of stuff, like DeWalt toolboxes for like $200. You're like, what in the world is going on here? The big steel ones. You're like, what? How is that possible? But it's all like liquidation. They had and Tony, you'd like it. They had tons of Makita. They had Makita track saws for $200, or maybe less. I mean, they had so much. I was like, they even had the skill saw, the worm drive saw. They had that for like $125. I was like, whoa, I've always wanted that. I've always wanted it. I have no purpose for it. I mean, I barely use my Sidewinder saw, so it's like, well, why would I need a worm drive saw? But it was like, that would have been cool. That would have been cool. So our cigar, going along, even though it's a small cigar, thin ring gauge, it's smoking fairly slowly. Like I don't think we're going too fast, and we haven't really got much progression through it. So how's the shows going on? Any shows that are good? Before I left, I mean, I haven't watched anything since I left. But when I was watching, I've still got to work on more of the, what do you call it? The Only Murders in the Building. And I finally, I don't know if I told you this, but I did start watching, what's it called? Andor season 2. That's been pretty good, I think. Pretty good. Yeah, I gotta say the draw is really nice. That acrid taste to the tobacco is still there. It's a little bit more toned down. I don't know if I like it flavor wise, but overall, I mean the draw wise, the feeling of the draw and the smoking is really pleasurable. Yeah, it still has good strength, good body, and just a small cigar. It's always a little bit surprising in that respect. What else been going on? I see that the Ravens have finally won a game after losing so many games, which is a good thing. We're glad to see they're winning. We need wins. So my friends are like, now if we can only win every game for the rest of the year, we can totally make it to the Super Bowl. I was like, you know what you're saying? I'm like, you know what you're saying? Like, this is not the Magic team of 2020, 2012, right? This is not them. I don't know if they can do it. Maybe they will. Maybe they will. Maybe I just don't have enough faith. Maybe I just think that Harbaugh needs to go. But what do I know? I haven't been following the games at all. So one of my friends, she's a fanatic. She's always posting about like the game. I'm like, right on. Yeah, I mean it's so far it's interesting, right? There are things that I like about it a lot, and there's things that I'm just kind of tepid about. The small size of the cigar, the diminutive size of the cigar, does make me a little bit concerned because I can look here on the screen and see that it's 8:45. Will this last an hour 15 minutes? Will this last 75 minutes? We can try. We can try. Just got to talk more. But even though we're talking quite a bit, we're not losing combustion, which is really a nice thing. That's a really nice thing. And I've had it in the bag since I got it a week ago, and really it just sat at my aunt's house in the bag, and then it's been sitting here in the garage here for the last 2 days. So it hasn't really undergone a lot of wild temperature swings or abuse. And today was fairly warm. I was really surprised at how pleasant it was today. Like up in New England, it was really like it was today for most of my trip until the last 2 days, until Sunday, Monday. It got cold. Then it actually got chilly, and I was like, oh, I do need to put on a jacket now and have some sleeves because it's chilly. But until then, I'd mostly been wearing my jean jacket. I was like, all right. Yeah, I did buy some clothes when I was on the road. I saw the Goodwill. Went to the Goodwill, and I was like, I always go to Goodwill because I'm looking for the tools, right? What kind of tools might they have? But I was at Goodwill, I was like, they didn't have any tools. Goodwill never has good stuff, right? But they had some clothes, and I was like, you know what? Maybe I wonder if they have nice jeans here. So I found some jeans, LL Bean jeans for $7.50. I was like, well, that looks pretty good. So I took them. I bought a pair, took them home, and I was like, I wonder how they fit. So I tried them on, and I was thinking, I'm just going to wear them. And then I was wearing them for a little while, and then my legs started to feel a little bit itchy, and I was like, oh, that feels weird. And I don't know if it was really itchy because it felt itchy, or it was itchy just because it was my mind that's telling me that it should be itchy because I didn't wash it. So I was like, okay, toss that into the wash. And then that was fine. And then after that, it was fine. It was great. LL Bean jeans, because I went to an LL Bean store. Like if you're in Maine, you go to Freeport, Maine. They have the big LL Bean store, and I was a little bit disappointed because I was trying to get there, and I looked it up, and I was like, oh, LL Bean closes at 10 p.m. I was like, closes at 10 p.m. In the old days, like in the 90s when I was there in 1997. I got stuck in an ice storm in Freeport, Maine in 1997. And back then, LL Bean was open 24 hours. You go there anytime. Like I went there. I was at my hotel. And I was like, let me go check it out. And I went there like at 1 in the morning. It was kind of awesome. And they even had like embroidery at 1 in the morning. So you got your clothes or your bag embroidered. I was like, oh, I'm having it embroidered. So that was kind of cool. But now I guess after the pandemic, they only open till 10. So I was like, oh, a little bit disappointing, but. But anyway, you could buy the jeans there. I think they're like $80 for their jeans. I was like, good Lord, $80. I don't want to spend a lot of money on jeans. So finding the LL Bean jeans at Goodwill for $7.50 was a blessing. I was like, good, good. And in a smaller size than I've worn in over 20 years. So I was like, oh, that's even better. You know what to me is weird about this whole like journey with this drugs, weight loss drugs, diabetes drugs, right? That lose weight, is that I meet people now who've only met me recently, like in the last, let's say, year. They only know me as now. They don't know me as before. Like a lot of you know me for a long time. So it's like, I'm much more diminutive in size than I was a year ago, 2 years ago. And to me, it's just kind of odd that these are people that only know me in this format. And it's like, huh, strange. It's just a strange way of. It's just strange in my mind. That's all. So speaking of shows, are you guys watching anything good? Are there any good movies happening? Like I haven't seen a movie at a theater for like a long time. I did finally watch. I think I might have said this on the last time we had the stream. I did finally get around to seeing the last Mission Impossible. Like I think it's like a 3-hour journey but it was great. I really enjoyed it. I smoked like 3 cigars and I had a nice time, here listening, watching the show. I was like, all right, good. But I don't know if there's anything going on in the movie world. Like I haven't really been paying. I haven't really paid attention to much of anything of those things. Definitely good body on this. Like there's good spice, good body. That acridity is kind of. I don't know if the acridity has really gone away or if it's just my palate has become more adjusted to the acridity. But yeah, like the interesting. I was visiting a place called Tremont Nail, and Tremont Nail is a company that makes cut nails. So they get sheets of steel, and they have these like 150-year-old machines that feed the pieces of steel into it and cuts it in opposing directions. So it's interesting because they're like, basically they're like masonry nails for wood, for all applications. And they have a wedge shape to them instead of like, wire nails that are pointed and thin. And I've kind of become interested in these nails over the last couple of months. And I made a point to go visit Tremont Nail. And as I was taking the tour, Robert, the lead guy there, he was like, "Hey man, I said, hey, I'd like to get a shirt." He's like, "Oh yeah, what size do you wear?" And I was like, "You know what, man, my jean jacket is extra large." For the longest time, my whole response has always been, "Oh yeah, double X if you have it," or triple X at one point, then double X. And for the first time, I was like, "How about X?" It's like, I hope it fits. How's the aroma? The aroma, let's see. Let's see. I think it's pleasant. It seems, the smoke itself seems relatively mild. Like it feels heavier, weightier than the smoke is implying. I mean, in many respects, the cigar is very pleasant. It's just that there was that acridity that I just kind of found not necessarily to my taste. Now, that being said, I do think that it's worth, if you can get one, it's worth investigating. I mean, you can just call up the guys at Two Guys, and they'll ship you whatever you need whenever you want. And they've got all kinds of cigars there. It's a huge selection. George says, any idea how the hurricane in Jamaica will affect their coffee production? I mean, that's a good question. Let's see. I'm looking out. I don't really deal with Jamaican coffees because I just never really have. So, oh, I'm looking up when the harvest is in Jamaica, and it says Google AI says that the Blue Mountain variety occurs approximately September to March. So we should be in the middle of their harvest. Well, it could be devastating for them then. Devastating. Because we're in November, we're in the middle of the harvest. So depending on, I mean, it's a Category 5 hurricane. Like I haven't seen the reports from the news about just like Kingston and all that in general, but what little I have seen, it looked pretty bad. And so I would expect that coffee production, the finished production for 2025 into 2026 will be very poor. Yeah. So that's probably that's going to be my guess. I don't know if that's true or not. I don't know if that's really what's going to happen, but I think that's probably how it'll play out. Because I saw a report one time where they were saying that even the hurricane hunters that are in the KC 130s, I saw just a blurb about it where they were like, so the turbulence was so bad, they turned around. And I was like, what? These are guys that know how to fly in heavy duty weather, and they're running away from the storm? That's some pretty bad storms. Definitely as we move through to the end of the first third, I feel like it's smoother. Maybe my palate is just much more used to it, but I feel that it's much smoother now and getting more, just smoother. Just smoother is the best way to put it. George Brightman was with us. What's going on, George? Good evening, gents. Sorry to be late joining. Glad to see the gang back. It is good to have everyone back together and good to see you. What's the game tonight? I don't know what's happening in football. I have no idea what's going on. I don't even know what's happening in baseball. All I remember, one of my friends was like, was posting about it. He's like, went to bed, he woke up later, and the game was still on. And I was like, what? The game was 18 innings the other night? That was craziness. And only yesterday did I find out that even though one of my friends in Toronto was posting, oh yeah, was posting like happy stuff. I was like, only yesterday when I was talking to someone else, and he was like, yeah, it's the Dodgers and the Blue Jays. I think that's what it is. But I was like, oh, yeah, okay, good. Ravens and Dolphins. Oh, Ravens and Dolphins. How are we doing? How is the Ravens looking tonight then? I know we're only like maybe into the first quarter, but are we looking good or are we looking bad? George says, by the way, to defend RC Cola, it was a regional brand, not an off-brand by any. Ah, gotcha. I liked RC Cola. I really, when I was younger, I used to drink it, not often, but I always liked it. So no ill. I might even be tempted to drink it again if they made a diet version. And maybe they do. I just haven't seen a diet RC. George says, I don't think the parts of Jamaica that were devastated are part of the coffee producing region. Oh, okay, good. 14-3 Ravens. Oh, maybe we can win all the rest of the games of the year. So is Lamar playing again? Like, I know that people were waiting for Lamar to return because he was injured or something like that. I mean, I saw somebody was commenting about like the Ravens can't just be all about Lamar, and I was like, well, sometimes it takes a strong person on the team to make the team cohesive. Like that's what I think was the magic in 2012 when we had, Ray. He was the one that really drove the team back then. It wasn't Flacco. Flacco was a good quarterback, but it was really Ray that was the one that really drove the team and focused the team and brought them together. And when he was gone, I think maybe we had some troubles with that, and maybe now it is Lamar Jackson who is really making the team a cohesive unit. Lamar has returned, says George One. All right, excellent. George says, George Brightman says, so let's talk possible about our plans together. I know you said that the November 15th, and Tony says that can work. I'm not sure at this point whether it can work for me yet, but that's a possibility. The question I think that people might be having is like, and I know I saw that you sent a little bit longer text messages than I've been able to really focus on this past couple weeks. But what are you envisioning so that everyone can have a good idea of what we're planning to do? I think it could be a lot of fun. I just haven't had the bandwidth recently to pay much attention to much of anything lately. George says, and you're invited to be a part of our Davidoff Cigar. Yes, that was November 13th, right? 13th. Oh, by the way, tell Sean my apologies. He sent me a message. I presume it was about that, and I just haven't had the bandwidth to do much of anything outside of my aunt. So, but the 13th of November, I think that's the date. I will keep it in mind. And I know I said that about October 9th with Michael Herklotz, and it totally just slipped my mind again. Like everything has been kind of frazzled in my world. Not crazy, but frazzled in my world this past like 6 months. So now I think we'll finally be able to like get back and focus on things. George Brightman says that Toronto is ahead in the series, and the last 2 games are up in the north. Oh, nice. Nice. Although, does Toronto, the Blue Jays play in a climate-controlled stadium, right? They're not playing outside. Because I would imagine that in November in Toronto is going to be rather chilly. Les, yes, Lamar is on the field and doing his thing. Oh, nice. All right, good. Good. All right, I think we're finished with our first third. So I think we can rate it. I think body, I wouldn't say it's heavy, but definitely medium plus. And I'm going to say the body, I'm going to give it an 8.5. But flavor-wise, I'm not really totally thrilled, so I'm just going to give it an 8. Rusty says it is a dome. Oh, yeah, okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. I'm using this pencil here. That's you can see it's kind of blue and green, so obviously it's a Festool pencil, but it's a Festool and Blackwing pencil. They get collaborated. But I've been curious about these Blackwings. I was down at Bertram's Inkwell about a year ago down in Bethesda, and Bert was like, "Yeah, man." I was like, "Hey, Bert, what is with these pencils, these Blackwings?" He's like, "Yeah, give them a try." So I bought one of these pearls. They have like 4 different flavors of pencils, which sounds kind of like weird, but actually it's not that weird when I think about it. Like when I was in art school, we would buy pencils from like Faber-Castell and Kohinoor or whatever, and they would be different. They would have different leads. Like we've got our number 2s, there's HBs, there's 2Bs, all these different ones. And so I was reading more about the Blackwing, and the Blackwing evidently is a company that's been around for quite a long time, like from the 20s. And back in those days, a lot of the authors would use the Blackwing 602, and that was the favorite pencil. And so eventually that company kind of got sold and went out of business, and then these other like enthusiasts they found out that the Blackwing trademark had gone benign, or it had just run fallow and was available for use. So they bought, or they took over the trademark, and they started their own pencil company. So they got some old school pencil manufacturing machines, and they had to do some research to figure out what was the lead, the graphite that they were using, and create a new formulation. Now they did bring out a 602. And those super purists that are all about the Blackwings, the super hardcore guys, they say it's not exactly the same, but it's fairly close. So I don't know if you guys are into pencils, it might be worth trying. They're not terribly cheap. I think they're like $2 or $3 per pencil. So if you go to like if you go down to Bethesda to Bertram's Inkwell, they've got a whole bunch of, and then they create like limited editions, so people are collecting them, and of course people that collect those limited editions will never use them all. And I ended up getting, I was gifted a box of these from one of the reps last week, and there's like 13 or 12 or something like that in there, and I'm like, oh well, it's awesome. I don't know if I'll ever use all the pencils. Like, will I finish these pencils? George says that Jay will cook, the other Jay, not me. I'll bring desserts and bring cigars. Everybody can bring their favorite bottles, and we'll celebrate. Oh, sounds great. Sounds great. And to be clear, Chef Jay says that his cabin can sleep 18. Ooh, all right, excellent, excellent. Do we need to bring like sleeping bags, or what would we need to bring on a personal level, like besides cigars, or you got cigars, besides beverage? And the cabin is in Shippensburg, Pennsylvania, which I still haven't taken the time to figure out where Shippensburg is. Sorry, I'm totally lost. George says, sorry if I'm behind watching the game and hosting the. Oh, yeah, no worries, man. No worries. We understand. We know what you're doing on Thursday night. Loads of incredible hands on hand. Oh, all right. Now it's 9 o'clock and we're here. I don't think, George Shem, I don't think we're going to be able to finish this. Or I don't think we'll be able to like finish it. What day of November, says Rusty? George Brightman suggested November 15th, that weekend. Speaking of which, that's another thing. This Sunday, November 2nd, Rusty is going to be at Widmer's Tobacco, just south of Philadelphia, competing in their annual chili cook-off. And I know I've mentioned this in previous live streams, and I normally typically will go to join Rusty up in Widmer's. It's a really great shop, really great crew there. I really enjoy hanging out with them. I really wanted to go. Unfortunately, I didn't realize it at the time, But I had signed up for a class this weekend here in Baltimore that I'm taking. It's a 2-day class, Saturday and Sunday. Starts at like 9 a.m. each day. And I'm like, oh man, I totally forgot about that. So I will not be able to join on the weekend. But if you have the time to go down, it's really a fun time. If you go, make sure you dress warmly, bring a chair to sit in, and the guys are all really cool. They've got all these guys compete for the chili. There's so many chilies for you to try throughout the day, or actually at the competition time. And I think competition time, if I remember, is 4 p.m. So usually we'll get there like, maybe 10 or 11 in the morning and just kind of hang out and drink and talk and chat and smoke cigars and then eat. And, it's really a nice time. Of course, there's cheesesteak places that are nearby that you can go to. I think they do have some grilled foods, I think, up there. So it's really, really a lot of fun. So if you have a chance, I would highly suggest that you make the journey up to or down to Philadelphia or south of Philadelphia for the event. It's really a nice one. George One says simple, just light up one of the cheap. I mean, that's why they're there. So, but still, you want to like. I would like to have. Well, anyway, you know the deal. You know the deal. Yeah, Rusty, come on down. Well, yeah, definitely. If you guys can do it, definitely go. I'll ask about sleeping details, and it's near Gettysburg. Okay, that's very doable. I know Shippensburg because it's very familiar to me. I just can't picture when I think about it where it is in the pantheon of Pennsylvania. I was in Pennsylvania, outside of Lancaster yesterday, hanging out with the Festool rep at Paul B Hardware. I was like, huh, Phil's up there. Let me go hang out with him for a little bit and talk some shop stuff. Turns out that Bob, their regional manager, regional sales guy who covers all of the East Coast, was there too. So I got to hang out with him a little bit and chat. It was nice. It was a nice time. George says it's where the Redskins used to have their camp. Oh, I didn't know they had their camp up there. Okay. And there's an ice cream dairy place, says Tony and Chibi. Oh, well, ice cream is always an important aspect of what we do. That's one thing since I've been on these drugs, right? If I feel like I want to have an ice cream, I'm gonna go and have an ice cream. So like after I went to University of Connecticut Dairy Bar, which I got the chocolate peanut butter, I've really kind of got into this chocolate peanut butter kick lately. I just go get it. I just go get the ice cream. I don't care. And so I was at the University of Connecticut Dairy Bar, drove the half hour to the Woodcraft in Manchester, Connecticut, which is just outside of Hartford. There's a Carvel about 15 minutes away. And my nephew's birthday is this weekend. So I was like, oh, I should bring some crunchies from Carvel. Because, I don't know if you guys did a lot of Carvel when we were younger, but man, I'm all about the crunchies from Carvel. So I went there, walked into the Carvel. I was there in May, so that's why I knew about it. And I saw the guy and I was like, hey man, they had like 3 containers of the crunchies. I was like, these are crunchies for sale? He's like, yeah. I'll take them all. Give me them all. I want them all. Really, there are only 3 containers. So I was like, I took all 3. And they're like, the pint cup containers. I was like, I really should have said to him, hey man, do you have like a case? How do you get these in bulk? Let me just buy the whole case. Next time I'm up there, I might just do that. They're like, hey man, just give me the case. Fudgy the Whale. Gosh, I forgot about that. But so since I was there getting the crunchies, I was like, you know what, man? Hey man, give me a twist cone. Give me a twist cone and covered in crunchies. Epic. The cone, the soft serve was a little bit too soft, like it was kind of, but he put on a ton of crunchies. So I was like, oh, this is fine. It's fine. So I had 2 ice creams within like 2 hours. And I don't regret it. Don't regret it. I don't feel guilty about it. Does anyone know if Brian's going to be doing the candy thing at his new joint this year? Like, I know in years past at his old house, like Maria was always big on like Halloween and setting up decorations and like passing out candies. Are they doing that this year? Brian, if you're here, let me know. I'm going to come by. I have an idea for a costume. I was like, I should wear a costume. It's not terribly like fancy dancy. It's actually the outfit I was going to wear for my. I was going to take my nephew a couple weekends ago to the Baltimore Comic Con because he really wanted to go. I usually take him every year, but since I was away, I wasn't able to go. And I had like an outfit. I got this years ago when I was in Japan for the very first time, like in 1990. I bought a school uniform, just the jacket. There's a particular jacket that Japanese schoolboys wear. And I got one, and I was trying it on in the summertime, and I was like, oh, I can fit in this sucker. So I was like, oh, I'm going to wear that. Now I just need a place to wear it. I'm like, Tony says, I like the watermelon. Ooh, I never had the watermelon. I don't think I've ever had the watermelon. But it sounds like a good time. Shippensburg is about an hour and 45 minutes from, so that's not bad at all. That's definitely not bad at all. I mean, I'll do that on a Tuesday. So, I mean, Paul B is like an hour and 20 minutes, hour and a half from here. And then if I go up to like the lumber places, Groff and Groff or Hearn, they're about the same amount of time. So, yeah, hour 45 minutes. Cool. Tony says lime sherbet rind, watermelon ice cream with chocolate chips in it for the seeds. Oh, yeah, I never had that. Oh, I'm gonna have to give that a try. I wonder if they sell it by the slice. I noticed that this Carvel that I went to it's in a town called, what is it called? It's just south of Hartford, Connecticut. They didn't, like I remember Carvel's when we were young had like all kinds of cakes. They didn't have too many cakes. Like it's a little bit like Spartan. I mean, so the cigar, very consistent now. That again, I don't know if my palate has just become used to the spice and the flavor, but it's still very pleasant. It's very smooth. It's very even. It's pretty enjoyable. Rusty says, George, you should come up. There you go, George. George Juan. You mean George Brightman for the for the chili? Yeah, definitely. And you know, if you want to enter in the chili competition, I think they still have spots open for people to join and compete. I think, you know, bring your recipes. I was actually, until I realized that I had this class, I was actually thinking about competing this year. I got a recipe for a chili that I've been meaning to try that I haven't tried yet, and I was like, oh man, I was telling Rusty this a few weeks back. I was like, I think I'm gonna try entering it, but I guess it's gonna have to wait till 2026. Oh, George, by the way, did Andrew come back from New Zealand yet? Because he sent me a message a few days ago, and I think he's still there. And I was like, is this guy ever coming back? I think he's been there like a month already. I mean, he's with his family there, so of course it's good to stay there and hang out with his family. But I was like, oh man, he's still there? Awesome. I mean, smoke production, really great. The draw is really good. It's a little bit tighter, the draw now than it was early on, but not in a way that's impacting the enjoyment of the smoke. I mean, I do like the draw and I do like the smoke. It's really like I want to puff on it harder because it is an enjoyable smoke overall. George Brightman says, great party at McKellen's retreat on Saturday. Is that, you mean this coming Saturday? Drinks, snacks, and great cocktails. Costume comes as a pro. Oh, yeah, costume comes. So definitely. All for $85. Oh, that sounds great. I won't be able to attend because I do have I have a birthday. So I've got a class Saturday, Sunday. Then I've got a birthday party Saturday night. Then my nephew's birthday Sunday night. So it's like all this stuff is happening, and I've got to also attend to some of my clients in the next couple of days because they're like, oh, we're gonna be running out of coffee soon. It's like, oh, okay, I gotta roast it up, and good thing I ordered the green already. And that's another thing. Green coffee jumped up again this week, so I got my invoice Monday, I think it was, and I looked at it and I was like, good Lord, another 9% increase. I was like, so I mean, coffee has been escalating for the last 2 years. Green coffee has been escalating at a fairly steady pace. And then now it's been exacerbated by the tariffs. So it's like now it's been on this incline, and then now it's kind of gone every like 2 weeks it gets sharper. It gets sharper. And it's a difficult proposition in some ways because it's like you don't really want to have to increase prices every couple of weeks, but at the pace that it's been going, there's really no way to not do it. It's like, well, we just got to go. And luckily, my clients are very aware of the situation and they like the coffee enough that they're willing to roll with it. But it does create an interesting proposition. Not yet. It's on November 5th. Wait, McClellan's November 5th? Saturday's only the 1st. Is that right? Or maybe I'm thinking something different. All right, I'm going to say that we're done with the second, third. And it's been static, so I don't think it's really changed. So I think flavor, we're still at very good at 8. Body, 8 plus, 8.5. So 16.5. Oh, you mean November 5th is when Andrew comes back. And he was in the hospital for several days, exposed to measles. Oh, man. Had the quarantine. Oh, that sucks. That's terrible. Measles. God, I thought we got rid of the measles. I thought we conquered measles. I wonder how the healthcare system is in New Zealand. That's one of the countries that I've never been to that I've always wanted to go. I've been wanting to go there since like the early 90s. There's a movie that came out in like 1992 made by a guy named Lee Tamahori. And actually one of my friends was working on a movie with Lee. He's the director. And I was like, oh man, you're working with Lee? I was like, go tell him that, man. It's he made what I think is one of the greatest movies ever made. It was a movie called Once Were Warriors. And it's about a Maori family living in, what do they call it? In estates, in council estate housing in Auckland. And it's about a native, Maori family living in these, and the struggles they have. And it's really a powerful movie. I think it's one of the greatest movies ever made. It was where I first learned of Temuera Morrison, the actor who went on to play Jango Fett in Star Wars. I've been a big fan of his ever since he was, and evidently when he did this role, he played a guy called Jake the Muss, who is this working class Maori guy that had a lot of anger issues, drinking issues, and all kinds of craziness, and just such a powerful performance. And before that, he had been this lovable doctor on a soap opera in New Zealand. And everybody, when they announced that he was going to take the role of Jake the Muss, and the book Once Were Warriors was, the movie was based on a book that was of the same name, and it was wildly popular in New Zealand. And when they announced that he was going to take that role, everyone was kind of like, he's a lovable kind of like doctor chap on a soap opera. He's the wrong person for the role. He's terrible at it. But when you see him in this, you're like, holy moly, this guy is awesome. He's an awesome, I mean, he's an awesome actor, and he really proved it in this role. So if you ever had the chance to see it, it's called Once Were Warriors. Now, they did do a sequel to that movie that I did get to watch, and it's not as good. But the original movie is such a strong, strong performance by all of them. Tamora Morrison, Raina Owen is the mother. Mamunga Aurora Kerbel is the daughter. And I mean, they're just all strong, strong performances. It's really, really a compelling movie. Oh, Brian's with us. What's going on, man? Good to see you. Good to see you. George Brightman says that coffee prices have been up 18.5% since tariffs. Well, yeah, no doubt, man. I totally see that. I totally see that. I mean, we just jumped 9% in 3 weeks. Since my last invoice was 3 weeks ago, it's like 9%. I was like, 9% again? Son of a gun. Andrew comes back on the 5th, parties on Saturday the 5th. Okay, gotcha. I think I worked that out, but all right, definitely I'm feeling, so there's definitely some strength to the cigar because I feel a little bit in the head, like maybe a little bit of lightheadedness because of the cigar. Again, now that we're here at this point, now that we're moving into the last third, that acridity is starting to return. And the acridity of the cigar is really what really has tempered my enjoyment of it. And I know for flavor, I've been giving it very good 8s. I really, in the middle of the second, third, I was thinking maybe that's a bit too generous. Maybe it should be good plus, 7.5, but I'm just going to stay with 8. It's very consistent overall, though. I haven't really seen much of the Honduran cigar operations. I've seen a lot of Nicaragua. And I've been to Honduras, right? I've actually driven through Dunley, where a lot of the tobacco production is held, basically on the way in and out of Tegucigalpa, which is the capital. And Honduras is really beautiful country. If you ever get a chance to go, I really recommend going. It's really, really a wonderful place. Very different than here, and very different than even other parts of Central America, but still beautiful in there. George says Tamora Morrison, right? Yes, Tamora Morrison. Exactly. I mean, I tell you, ever since I saw that movie, I've been a big fan of his. I was just a big fan. Like, you see him, and he like worked out. He was super like Diesel in that movie. Like, it's really like there's a scene. They go to this bar, like a leather bar, like not a, yeah, it's a bar for tough guys, and it looks like a tough bar. It's a bar that I wouldn't go to because I'm not that tough, right? And in one of in one of the scenes, he has this great line. He's like, "There's this guy that's a like musclehead, like and he jumps on and he like starts playing this music on the jukebox when one of the girls is singing karaoke or something, and Timur, as Jake goes up to him, says, "Hey man," says something to him and kind of instigates him a little bit. The guy's all like huge, right? You think he's gonna, and of course Jake takes him down, like just beats the crap out of him. You're like, whoa. And with a ferocity that's just like animalistic, you're like, oh man. And he has this great quip. He's like, yep, just as I thought. Too much weights, not enough bag, or something like that. Not enough speed work, too many weights, or something. It's like, George says that Once Awards was Oscar nominated. Oh, it was definitely worth the Oscar nomination. It should have won. It should have won. Yeah, my friend who was working on a movie. So Lee Tamahori did a movie. Actually, did a movie here in Baltimore, and my friend was working on it. I wasn't called to do that show, but I said, hey man, go talk to Lee and tell him, man, you know a guy, one of your friends is like totally a big fan. He told me he said he went to go talk to Lee, and Lee was like, "Oh yeah, thank you, oh, thanks." So it's like the closest to greatness that I can get. Like when you work in motion picture production, it's very interesting because there's so much at stake every day. Like productions are spending hundreds of thousands of dollars every day because you got a big company of people. There's maybe like 100, 150 people working on a show, and they're paying for locations and all this stuff going on. And it's always interesting because sometimes you get directors and they're not really well together. Like they don't necessarily know what they're doing. But then you get other directors that are totally in their game. You're like, this guy knows his stuff, and he's totally prepared. Like some directors, not really prepared for the shoot. Other directors, man, like I imagine Lee Tamahori's like that. But I remember one of my favorite directors that I worked for was Tony Scott's brother. I can't remember his name. And he was a great director. Like he was a great person to work with, and it was really, really a fun shoot. There was a movie called Enemy of the State with Gene Hackman and Will Smith, and we're shooting this movie. God, I can't remember his first name at the moment. This is terrible. But Tony Scott's brother was a big cigar guy. And so this is like winter of 97, or, like November, December 97. Working on this movie. And he's a big cigar guy. He's a Monte Cristo #2 guy. And he's chain smoking Monte Cristo #2s. I mean, he's got boxes of 92s that of #2s that the prop master has sourced for him. Like the prop master's ordering it from his guy in London and shipping them in and storing them and keeping them and just feeding him cigars. And like they'll give us cigars every once in a while. And it was a smoking set. So back then you could still smoke. So everybody's smoking cigars. Like we're smoking cigars. Tony Scott, Tony's smoking cigars. Like he's chain smoking Monte Cristo #2s all day long. No matter what time we're rolling, he's smoking a cigar. It could be 5 in the morning. It could be 5 at night. He's got a #2 in the middle of it, going for it. I'm like, this is amazing. This is the greatest show ever. You remember we were talking to the prop guy about it, and I was like, he's like, yeah, man, the guy spends like $200,000 on cigars a year. Like what? Crazy. Like these guys spend some crazy money. They were telling me some of the guys that worked with Tony over the years they did Top Gun with him. And that was one of my favorite stories about Tony Scott was that I think they were on the Enterprise or the Nimitz or something like that. They were on an aircraft carrier in the middle of, I don't know where, the Pacific or whatever. They're shooting like takeoffs and landings on the deck of the aircraft carrier. And it was a Jerry Bruckheimer production. Bruckheimer and Don Simpson were the producers of the show. And I remember they were telling me that, yeah, man, Tony wanted to do some more shots, right? So he was like, so evidently I think what it was that the boat has to go in a certain direction to go against the wind so that the aircraft can get enough loft for takeoffs. And Tony wanted to do more shots, and their Navy liaison was like, "It's going to cost like another $100,000." He's like, "Turn the boat around and let's go." And they're like, "Well, it'll be another $150,000." And Simpson and Bruckheimer were like, "No, it's too much money now. We're spending too much money." Tony Scott, in his typical fashion, was like, busted out his checkbook, wrote a $150,000 check, gave it to the guy, turned the boat around, let's shoot. It's like, oh, yeah, totally in character for the guy. Sadly, Tony committed suicide off the San Gabriel Bridge not too many years later, and is no longer with us. But man, after that show, I was always like, man, if anybody ever called and said, we're going to do a Tony Scott movie, it's like, wherever you want to go, I'm willing to go. Like, it doesn't matter. Oh, did I say Tony earlier? Oh, so I meant Ridley's brother, Tony, was the director, not. George says Clint Eastwood is the most efficient, dependable. Oh, you know, Clint. I worked with Clint on a movie called, what was it? Murdered Six. I think it was Murdered 1600, or was it Absolute Power? I did both of those movies, but I did one with Clint, and he was the director. Everybody called him Tall Guy because he's really tall. And yeah, I will attest to that. He was very, very good. He's a very good director, very prepared, always professional. And it's funny because one of his best friends is a dentist, similar in age. And I remember I'm working on the show, and this old guy is working as a production assistant. That's what we call a PA. And him and I would hang out and talk, and I was like, and every day at rap, he would go off and hang out with Clint and get in the car with Clint and drive away. And one day we were talking, I was like, what's the deal with you and Clint? And he's like, oh, Clint and I are like neighbors. He's like my best friend. And I said, well, what are you doing as a PA on the show? And he's like, well, you know, I'm retired and I didn't have anything to do. And he was like, well, you want to come along and work a movie with me? I was like, yeah, all right. So I was like, oh, kind of awesome. But yeah, Clint was, well, he was a really great director, really great director. I mean, he's been in the business for such a long time. And, you know, another person I thought was really excellent to work with was Gene Hackman. Like I said, I did Enemy of the State with Gene. I actually did three movies with Gene. We did, see, I get confused now. Murder at 16, I think he was in Absolute Power. We did Enemy, and then I worked with him on The Replacements with Keanu Reeves. By the time we got to Replacements, Gene knew who I was, so we would chat every once in a while. But Gene was always the kind of actor that was prepared. Like he was focused, prepared. Like he didn't really hang out and shoot the shit with everybody, and he was never too relaxed, not too flippant. He was just always prepared, always focused, always ready to work. And it's like, and you know, when you're working on a show, and you know, you get some actors that are very, especially the comedian actors, they have a real insecurity about them. So they're always kind of needy. And since they're the talent, you're always kind of like kowtowing to what they want or what they like to do. And they require a bit of like assistance and attention. But people like Gene were never like that. They were always like ready to work, focused. And so it's a lot easier to work with them because that kind of actor, because they didn't need additional attention. They didn't need their egos to be soothed. George says, Tony's guy for the Monty Twos was J.J. Fox. Oh, nice, nice. And had the cigars built into the budget. Oh, yeah, yeah. I mean, they paid for, I mean, he made blockbuster movies. So, I mean, they were more than willing. And he was always smoking cigars. Like it was, I remember when we were working Enemy, I was just like, this is craziness. Like it is, like people would smoke every once in a while on a set, but in that era, but this was nonstop. And it was at the time that we made Enemy of the State, it was the biggest budgeted movie in Hollywood, in the history of Hollywood. So $135 million, which today is almost nothing. But back then it was like incredible amounts of money. So to work that show was really interesting because, you know, when I started out in production, I started out with a lot of community television, live television and community access. And then I moved into like television production series. So I did like Jake and the Fat Man, One West Waikiki, things like that. And then, you know, so, and then I went into like, when I made that transition from that into feature production, which my first movie was Major League 2. I remember going to I was working a casting in Major League 2, and I was at the production office, and I was like, they were like, oh yeah, well we got it. I said, my boss was like, oh, we need something, like whatever, pencils or some kind of stationary kind of office supply stuff. So I went to the production manager. I was like, hey, can we get some pencils? They're like, oh yeah, take whatever you want. It's in the closet. And I remember I walked into the closet. They had all this like it was basically like Staples at Office Depot had like dumped in this closet. And they had everything. And I was like, God, this is and I remember thinking, wow, I can just take any of this. Like, I've worked on productions where we had to fight for pencils. You know, you're like, can we get a pencil? Just one is fine. And to have access to that was really wild at the time. And then when we went to do Enemy, anything was possible. Like Don Simpson already passed away by this point, so it was just Jerry that was producing the show. But anything you wanted, like it was just like madness. I was like, oh, this is crazy. Like the budgets were crazy. And I remember one day we were blowing up the old Dr. Pepper building factory bottling plant in on Ponca Street? Ponca Street in Baltimore City. And for that shoot, they wanted to shoot it from multiple angles. So they brought in some extra crew. They brought in like 11 cameras to shoot different angles. And one of the cameras that they brought in was this thing called the Movie Cam. And the Movie Cam was this company that did slow motion photography. And I remember so I was like late 20s by this point. So I'm still like gung ho and like adventurous. And when you work with a company like Controlled Demolition that was doing the implosion of the building, they designate areas around the building that are, kill zones essentially. So there's the close proximity that's one of the do not enter kill zone, right? And I was assigned to be the guy. Well, I was asked if I wanted to be the guy overseeing the cameras in this one box that they were building within the kill zone. So basically, these were like plywood boxes with plexiglass fronts, and the plexiglass they would cut out a hole in the plexi so you could stick the lens through it, so that the lens would not be obstructed by the plexi. And we had two regular like Panavision cameras, and the Movie Cam was in there. And so, a typical motion picture camera of that era, the 35 millimeter cameras, like the Panavision or Arri types, would have two different sizes of film cores, 400 foot and 1,000 feet cores. And the 1,000-foot core, you could run nonstop for 11 minutes. The 400 would be like 5 minutes, right? So two of the cameras are Panavision Gold cameras, so they can run 11 minutes, no big deal. So the criticalness of the time of running the cameras is not so heavy with those cameras. But the Movie Cam, because it's running at like 900 frames or 300 frames a second instead of the normal 24 frames, the 1,000-foot core would be consumed in 90 seconds, right? Because in order to get slow motion, you're running the exposure, the frame rate really high so that when you project it, it's actually slow. So the Movie Cam is the only one that they brought in, and it was in my box. And now they've got cameras all around the building. They've got cameras in like 3 different helicopters that are flying above the scene. They've got it cordoned off. There's a whole bunch of people that are there just to spectate, to see the building blow up. And the Movie Cam guy's like really specific. It's like, when you call the roll, we need to go. You can't call the roll and then re-roll, because there's going to be a point it takes 30 seconds to spool to speed, and then you've got 60 seconds and then reload. And we need to be tight on the time. So how it works in motion picture production is that production will call the roll. So they'll say, roll sound calls their speed. So because back then they had magnetic tape recorders called Nagras, and the Nagras would, you'd call it sound speeds because you wanted to make sure that the tape was running at full speed and getting the proper sound, and then you turn the cameras on. So once that comes up, then you turn the cameras on, because the film costs so much more than magnetic tape, and then you could go. So everyone's briefed on this. The whole production team is briefed on it, and we're sitting in the box, we're waiting. We got everything set up. It took us all morning to set up for this shot. The helicopters are now in the air. They're now hovering in their position, and we're all ready to go. So production calls the roll. They're like, roll sound speeds, roll cameras. And so we start. And man, like motion picture cameras are fairly quiet in modern times. Silent even, right? So you can't hear the chatter of the shutter. This Movie Cam, though, is not like that. It's wildly noisy. It's like high-pitched whine. So he turns the camera on, and this thing starts to scream. And we're like, I was like, oh, God, man, it's crazy. They call the roll. Cameras turn on. We're running. 30 seconds goes by. He's like, 30 seconds, we're at speed. 60 seconds has gone by now. We're still waiting. Like, they haven't called action. Finally, we're getting to like 45, we're like now 60, we're like 75 seconds. Then they're like, okay, camera's ready. Like, what are you talking about? It's like, wait a minute. And they're like, okay, roll cameras. They're like, camera's almost out. And we're like, we're trying to call in the relay. We need to stop, right? We need to hold the roll because this guy needs to reload. They're not getting that message. The guy in the movie camera operator, he's like, reload, action. And then the building blows up. And we're like, oh, crap. Totally missed the explosion that they brought this guy in from LA to shoot. So after it all clears up, production's like, oh man, what happened? So Tony and Jerry come over and they're like, what happened? We've told you we're ready to go and you called the roll, and they called 2 rolls. The ADs kind of messed it up, and so they were like, well, okay, now we're hosed. Now on the cameras, we have what we call a video assist tap. And so I'm recording video because I'm the video guy, right? So we're recording video from those 3 cameras. And Bruckheimer's like, well, can we utilize the video? And we're not talking like video like today. This is video in 1998, 1997. Video 8 cartridges. So really low quality to begin with. And they're like, well, can we utilize the feed from the movie cam? And I'm like, I don't know. We'd have to send it to the lab and see what they could do. And they work it up. And so I called the lab and I was like, hey, well, could we do something like this? They're like, maybe. I said, well, how much will it cost? They're like, oh, they worked on the calculation. They called me back. They're like, it'll be about 135. And I was like, well, okay, I'll go to production and tell them. So I went to go to the production and I was like, so the lab says 135. And they mean $135,000 to do this conversion, to blow up the 8mm videotape to 35mm film in slow motion. And we're not even sure if that's going to work. They were like, all right, let's go do it. I was like, what? 135,000 just like that. I mean, it's costing the production, it's costing production $150,000 a day to operate on that show. So it's like, I guess that's worth it. But at the end of the day, it wasn't suitable to use. They didn't, even if it was suitable, they didn't actually use it in the final cut. So I don't know exactly. That happened post-production, so I don't know what happened then. But that was a little bit craziness there. George says that Gene Hackman was a total pro. Totally total pro. Always hit his marks. Absolutely. Steven's with us. What's going on, man? How are you doing? How's things in Phoenix? So that's my story for things. And the cigar has gone out, so I'm going to have to relight. Yeah, it's gone out. So we're going to do our Cirillo McLean style relighting. Just by going around the horn here. Maybe a little bit on this side. Let's see how it survives the relight. I gotta say, doing this style of relight has always been very positive instead of, pressing it out like I used to do. All right, yeah, that's still solid. Let's see how the coffee is doing. I mean, the light and bright coffee, this fruity coffee, I really like it overall. I don't know if it's exactly the great pairing for this particular cigar. So, Stephen, how's the weather in Phoenix now? Are you guys in cold? I'm presuming you guys are in colder areas now, or is it still fairly warm? Like right now here in Maryland, it's probably like low 50s. And look at that. Relight smoke is still, production is still really nice. Flavor is still relatively the same. George says, not the cigar's fault, but the acridity of the cigar has been something that's been throughout the cigar rather than just something that's starting now. It was pretty prevalent in the first third, not so much in the second. It had a little bit of return in the last third, and it's still now. But so I don't think that it's necessarily because of the relight, but it's just part of the character of the cigar that I've perceived throughout the experience with it. I mean, I would not say. I mean, I'm not going to say it's a bad cigar. I mean, it's been overall rather enjoyable. Just not as. I just don't think the flavor is necessarily to my personal taste. George says at 14.6 at the half. Ooh, all right, we're doing all right. We're holding our own. That's good to see. I used to go to the games many years ago in the 2010 to 2014 years. I used to go to the games a lot. I had season tickets, and I would go. And I remember a few years after, or at some point during that time, one of my good friends was like, "Hey, man, you want to use? I got some extra seats. If you want to, I got some extra tickets if you want to use them for one of the games." And he had nice seats. Like at Raven Stadium, they have the bowl, of course, and the bowl. The lower, my seats were in the lower end zone, section 136, which I really liked. I really liked that particular part of the stadium because I would have like it'd been nice to have 50-yard seats, but they're very expensive. These were moderately priced, and then you could also go in the very top, and then they have sky boxes for the super fancy people. But my friend had club level seats, and these are like uh, mid tier in the stadium, and they have a indoor bar, so you can go inside and get out of the weather, watch the game on the TV, sit at a bar, eat, whatever you want to do. Really kind of civilized way to watch football. And but one of the things in my section, we score a touchdown. Everybody's going crazy. Everybody's having a great time. And I think that's the same way if you're in the 500 level. But at the 200 level, in these club seats, I remember we're there. I'm watching the game with my friend, and we're sitting there, and her and I watching the game, and like, we get a touchdown. And in my section, it'd be like people pandemonium almost, right? Like people like super excited. But here at the club level, everyone's kind of like, "Oh, Ravens touchdown! Oh, very good, very good." And I was like, "What am I doing here?" I love the fact that I can go and warm up, but I was like, "This is too civilized for me, man. Too civilized." Tony's asking, "Mom, have you smoked the blue cheese from LCA?" Ooh, blue cheese. I wonder if that blue cheese has an actual blue cheese character to it. I think that would be kind of interesting. In coffee, you can get kind of blue cheese character to the coffee, depending on the style of processing you're using. A lot of times, like early on, like maybe like 10, 11 years ago when we were starting to experiment with something called anaerobic fermentation, where you take the coffee and you pulp it and you put it into rubber bladders, which reduces the amount of available oxygen during the fermentation process. And depending on how much you apply this type of processing to it, you can get like milky, sweet characters, and you could push it really extreme and get like blue cheese kind of funk. And I always thought those, while those were not necessarily appealing to a lot of people, I always thought they were fascinating because just the way you could manipulate the flavor. So I am curious to see if there is a way to get blue cheesiness to a cigar. Tony says it does not have blue cheese. Oh, it does not. Oh. Why do they call it blue cheese then? Mom says, I have not yet, but how was it? All right, Tony, how was it? Tell us how it was. I am curious. There's a little bit sharpness developing on the tongue right now, now that we're pretty far down the cigar. Tony says it was great, made by AJ Fernandez. Oh, nice. But did they give any indication why they call it the blue cheese, or is it just they're just giving a random name to it? I think it would be interesting to have unique names if they explored that kind of character in a cigar. Mom says that means it was spicy. If it's AJ, it must be spicy. Right on, right on. I mean, still at this point, smoke production and draw is excellent. There is just a little bit of sharpness on the tip of my tongue. Oh, by the way, those of you who might be interested in 3D printing, I have a 3D printer. It's a Creality Ender 3, I think it is what it's called. And I remember when I got it, beginning of the year. Thank you, Brian. My brother, who's actually does a lot of 3D printing, he was kind of like, "Oh, that's nice." He's like, "Those are good if you want to like know how to, if you want to learn about 3D printing." And I said, "What do you mean?" He's like, if you want to learn about 3D printing and how to like be a 3D printing kind of technical person, those are great printers to use. But if you just want to be able to 3D print, you should get the bamboo stuff." And I was like, well, I didn't really have a choice in this. I'm just grateful that someone was generous enough to let me have one. But I did find out the hard way that, yeah, after a while, it becomes a little bit more technically oriented in order to get successful prints. And I'm saying this because I was watching a video the other day where they were like, this guy who's evidently into 3D printing was like, the Bamboo Labs is having a 45% off sale this week or this month or whatever. And I was like, what? So you can get this, what they call the Bamboo Labs A1 or PS1 with their A series, like multiple filament dispenser. So you can do multiple colors in a print for like, I think now they're down to like $545. So if you're interested in a nice quality printer that works very well with very little manipulation, the Bamboo Labs might be one to consider. So if you're thinking about, oh, I might want to get into 3D printing, that might be the way to go. Mom says I have to check it and see if I have it. Ooh, that's good. Tony says the blue cheese is a riff on the slang term cheddar for money. Band is a C note. Oh, I like that. That's kind of funny. But it's interesting, like these 3D printers, and you guys probably already know this, but I asked my brother to print me a couple pieces because I needed one to hang these rails. And the way they work is that, like if I was to do it on mine, I would have to do 2 separate prints and then attach the 2 pieces together. And there's a cam that rotates. But my brother's printer will print the entire thing with the cam built into it. And if I wanted to have multiple colors, you could do multiple colors. So the cam could be a different color than the rest of it. And basically it prints the whole thing. And I was like, wow, that's so cool. It's so amazing. These printers are so amazing. Another technology thing that I saw today, there's a guy on YouTube named by the name of Marcus Brownlee. He's a guy up in New Jersey that does a lot of tech reviews. And I had a video that came across my feed today, and I was looking while I was watching it. Evidently there is this company has announced a robot that looks like a human, that can articulate like a human, that's designed to do chores and tasks around your house that you don't want to do for yourself. So it'll like wash your dishes, do your laundry, clean your house, and do all this kind of stuff for you. And if you watch this video from Marquez, he talks about it, and he's like, he's kind of irritated because this company announced this product, and they made a video for the Wall Street Journal with a Wall Street Journal journalist. But it's not ready for release yet. Sometime in 2026 it's going to be released. And he was talking about in this video that this demonstration, they had the robot doing the task, but they actually had a person kind of remotely driving the robot to do the, I guess he's wired up so that he's doing the motions and the robot is doing the motions as well. But I was like, and the cost of it is going to be, there's 2 ways of buying this robot. And these robots look like the robots from iRobot, the movie. And you could buy it on their subscription plan for $500 a month, or you could buy the robot outright for $20,000. And they're asking for like $200 deposits now to get your place in line for a release sometime next year. And I was like, huh. And of course, if you think about it, $20,000 is a lot of money. Like you're like, man, $20,000. But I was thinking, you know what? Even if you had somebody from the company that was, this robot, you get it to your house, and somebody at the company is, remote controlling the robot for you to do the tasks, $20,000. Let's say your robot is good for 7 years. I was running some calculations. That works out to be something like $2,800 a year for this robot to work for you as much as you want. That is a third, that is less than half. It's 41%. $20,000 is 41% of what you would pay if you hired someone to work for you at the federal minimum wage of $7.25 an hour. And I was like, $20,000, that's actually a fairly good if you think about an employee hiring someone to do your task for you, you would save a tremendous amount of money. And even if you did the $500 plan a month, which is $6,000 a year, like if you had someone that worked for you at $7.25 an hour, that would be somewhere like $14,500. Plus you'd have to add on another like 20% for all of your like payroll taxes and filing fees and all that kind of stuff, right? So your total output would be like maybe $17,000 per year, not for 7 years, but per year. So it's like, if you look at it from that perspective, the $20,000 or $500 a month is very reasonable in price. Mom wants to know if it's a dark wrapper, but it is not. It is reddish brown Habano. Oh, nice. So here's our cigar. It's a little bit more intense now as we're at the end, but we'll do our review. I think the cigar overall has been fairly consistent. So I still think flavor-wise, we're still at very good 8. Body, we're still at 8 plus. Now, Burn and Draw, like I said, has been excellent through the whole experience. So we're going to give that a 9. Consistency has been excellent as well. So very, very consistent throughout that. Is that right? 7, 15, 75. Okay. And overall, I'm going to say 825. So very good plus, but 825. Which gives us a total of 83.25 points for our Aladino. What is this called? The Aladino Corona number 4 limited edition, the Corojo Especial, I think it's Reserva, for Corona Reserva. So 83.25 gives us in the very good plus range. So a nice cigar to try. I think you should give it a try. I mean, it's only released once a year in this format, so it's worth giving a try to see if you like it. Mom wants to know if you've had, Tony, if you had the CEO surplus. Oh. Are those, is that a line or is that just like excess cigars that they're getting rid of? At this point, there's a little more spice. And there's still some more cigar to go. I'm actually surprised. We were talking earlier, about an hour ago, I didn't think we'd make it to the very end, and we have. So there it is. Ah, it's a new bundle line. Okay, got it. So, I would say this is a cigar worth giving a try to. 83.25, so not bad. All right, I guess that's going to be it for this week. Good to see all of you. Thanks for coming back out again. Always a pleasure and an honor that you spend the Thursday nights here with me. The plan is to be back again next Thursday. So again, if you have the time to head up to Widmer's Tobacco, just south of Philadelphia, on Sunday morning into Sunday afternoon for their chili cook-off. Rusty's going to be there. George might be there, so give a chance to go check it out. I think it'd be a really fun time. And then keep thinking about maybe if we do the gathering in Shippensburg on the weekend of the 15th. I think we're talking about going up there on Saturday, staying overnight, and coming home Sunday. So not too much of an investment as far as time, just a night to hang out and enjoy some camaraderie. We'll maybe finalize that thing if we can do it all that day next week. So keep that in mind over the week and hope you have a great one. And see you next time.